Hare Krishna. I forget. All right, let us begin. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshakari Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyascha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So many centuries ago, saintly person was traveling with his disciples along the banks of the river Ganga. It was early morning time, and they were all going into the river to take bath. So on the banks of the river they found a small crowd of people. They were having arguments with each other. And the interactions amongst them was becoming very intense. People were getting very agitated. They were shouting at each other. So the disciples, they came back to the teacher. They were concerned. So they came back and asked the teacher that They told him that this is what we saw. And they had made inquiries and they understood that all of them who were having this intense argument were actually relatives. They were all related to each other. They asked the teacher that, why is it that when people become angry, they start shouting at each other? I mean, if you are not happy with someone, and if you are feeling argumentative, then you could address each other without shouting at the top of your lungs. So why is it? So the teacher said that, well, because they have certain disagreements, and those disagreements are very they feel very strongly about the disagreements. So disciples said, we understand that, but our question is not about them being angry or them being not on the same page. We are wondering that why do people have to shout at each other? So the sage said, the teacher, he said, that when people become angry at each other, then the natural affinity or attraction that they have towards each other decreases. And if they have very strong disagreements, and their anger is very intense, then not only do they overlook the affection that they have towards each other, they also start feeling disconnected from each other. And if this anger persists, then over a period of time, the disconnect between each other becomes so strong that they actually go away from each other emotionally. So when people who have distanced themselves from each other, when they have to make themselves heard over a certain distance, then they have to shout. They have to raise their voices. So physically, they may be close to each other. Emotionally, they are very far away from each other. And when you want yourself to be heard over a distance, you need to shout. So the disciples were, wow, awesome. That's such a wonderful perspective. Now we understand. And the saintly person, the teacher, he said, do you think that the people who come to the Ganga or only those who have some religious rituals to be performed. That is why they come. So there are other kinds of people also who come to this quiet place, banks of the river. So look around you. And they looked around. And who else did they see? They found some people. Some of them were couples, some of them were siblings. And the saint asked them, "What do you see amongst them?" So they said, "Well, we see that they are here." The teacher said, "No, look closely. Look at all the young people, especially those who it seems that they're newly married or they're very tight siblings, very affectionate to each other. What do you see?" They said that we just see that they are there. So the saint said, "Then you do not always see with your eyes. You have to understand what you see with your eyes." He said, "Look at them. They're sitting close to each other. Some of them may be at a little distance away from each other, but they are taking care of each other. In fact, they may not even have to speak, but still they exchange their affections." And then the disciples noticed it. And he said, "Their hearts are full of affection and love for each other. So much so that when they talk to each other, they sometimes whisper. Because just a whisper is enough for them to hear each other. So when your hearts are very close, or emotionally are very close to each other, then even a whisper is easily understood. However, emotionally you are apart. You may be just standing face to face, but still you want to scream at the other person because you are convinced that the only way the other person will hear you is when you shout. The simple lesson that has been taught over the ages can be presented to you in a very different format with a lot of exercises and interactions. And you would have to shell out money. And finally, you'd feel that, yeah, after I had that therapeutic session, I feel much better. So what is it that makes one find these teachings, these simple teachings, to be effective in our lives? Only when we pay money from our pockets. What is it that makes them so very relevant to us? On the other hand, these teachings have been taught or they have been passed on through so many generations in family settings. Someone's phone ringing. Or in settings where you listen to some wisdom from the Vedic literatures. Why is it that we sometimes find it a little more relevant, and other times we do appreciate the message? Its relevance seems to be only momentary. Why is it? That is the difference between a teacher and a student. A teacher, by profession, is constantly meditating on the lesson to be taught. Where a student only meditates on the lesson to get grades. Now we have to figure out, should we remain as students or should we become teachers in our own lives? When we say a teacher in our own lives, I'm not saying that we need to profess our teaching to others. What I'm saying is, be a teacher for oneself. Once a person felt that he needed some fine tuning to the capabilities that he had, so he approaches a teacher. He asks the teacher, that this is what I know and I would need some fine tuning. So how much time would it take for me? So the teacher said, it will take you 3 months if you come in every day for 2 hours. The student says, what if I come in every day for 4 hours? So the teacher says it will take you 6 months. So he kind of felt a little weird, but he said, what if I come in for 8 hours every day? The teacher said it will take you 1 year. You may wonder why. Because if the teacher knew that you could practice for more than 2 hours, then the teacher would have given you different levels of teaching. The teacher knew that if you come in for 2 hours, it will take you 3 months. If you come in for 4 hours, it will take you 45 days. The teacher would have told you. But the teacher is telling you that it will take you 3 months coming in for 2 hours every day. Basically, the teacher wants to tell you that you have to come and learn for 2 hours, and the rest of the day you have to practice what you've learned. The student feels, no, if I put in more effort and receive what you're teaching me. Yes? How do we relate it to our lives? You see, sometimes in the aspiration and wanting to be advancing in our spiritual practices, we suddenly come up with some special strategies. 1 month of something special to do. Or 15 days. If 15 days constantly from morning to evening if you practice, then the scriptures say that this is the benefit that you get, and you're like, nice, yes. Do the scriptures want us to become fruitive? Or is the essence of scriptural teachings that we become meditative? That is what we have to try and figure out. You know what fruitive means? Fruitive means that for most of us, we are practicing Krishna consciousness. So Sri Vrindavan Dham has a very special place in our heart. For most of us. And then we come to ISKCON, we read Chaitanya Charitamrita. So we have 2 more places added now. Mayapur and Jagannath Puri. Especially for those of you who live here, whenever you make a trip to India, if you do not visit one of these places, you're like, oh my God, maybe something is missing. And if you've made a trip to all of these places, you feel like, okay, it was worth it. So now, is it being meditative or fruitive? I'm not saying you should not be doing it. I'm not saying that you should be doing it. What I'm saying is the perspectives that we have towards these strategies. So are we approaching these practices as a student or as a teacher? As I said, here we are not wanting to be teachers for others. We are wanting to be teachers for ourselves, in the sense that we meditate on the lesson. We are not practicing the teachings just for getting grades. Why do we meditate on the lesson? Because we have to teach that lesson. Yes. So that is how the teacher told that student. Well, if you are being so fruitive, then this fruitive nature of you is going to make you have sleepless nights, to be stressed out. The stress is going to take away much of your energy and time, which could have been utilized either in practice or in learning. Right? Now we have heard of how Arjuna, when he realized that he could actually practice even in the dark, then he regulated his sleep. But what he did was that he did not miss his sleep. We, in the practice of wanting to follow in the footsteps of Arjuna, we may start missing our sleep. Why? Because Arjuna wanted to practice. And he found that he had the capacity to do it. We find Arjuna's practice very motivational. So we adopt it without understanding whether we have the capacity to do it or not. So if we have the capacity to do it, then there is a possibility that one could feel that one has conquered over that practice. That is the difference between Karuna and Arjuna. When they both came face to face and they had to show off their skills, like Arjuna had to show off his skills, Karuna felt that he should also have the opportunity, which is perfect. Everyone should be able to have an opportunity to present their skills. However, he wanted to present his skills to be seen as being better than Arjuna. So his benchmark was Arjuna, and he wanted to be better than them. Whereas Arjuna's benchmark was always himself. Even when he realized that Karna is a very good fighter, Arjuna's benchmark was never Karna. These are certain facts that we may not realize from the Mahabharata. Did you ever hear about that? Karna was always concerned that I have to prove myself as being better than Arjuna. Arjuna just wanted to be the best version of himself. If Karna could have just practiced that too, then most probably he would have been able to have perspectives that are helpful. He was very well read, worldly wise. He could have easily understood why Duryodhana is approaching him. If Karna could understand and he could advise Duryodhana about how the Pandavas must be planning, he definitely would have the capacity to know what was Duryodhana's intent. Along with wanting to be his friend, Duryodhana also had political ambition. But then Karna had his own political ambition too. So, it is so very important to understand what is it that we want to practice in life. Because when we understand what we want to practice in life, then we know what is the goal that one has to achieve in life. Once upon a time, there was a person who was always being insulted by a particular entity. This person was a mendicant, so always insulted and spoken harsh words by a gentleman. Somebody felt compassionate towards that person, towards the mendicant. He said, "Sir, why do you always take so much of abuse, verbal abuse from this gentleman? You have two choices. You could either give back or you simply avoid that person." So the mendicant had an answer. The mendicant says that person gives abuses, I don't take it. So if I don't take it, it doesn't come to me. And if the person gives something and it is right there, then the natural law of this world is that you keep it. So from a third person's perspective, it appears that he is receiving abuses. But from the mendicant's perspective, he knows he has a choice to receive or not to receive. Now, from a third person's perspective, you must be somebody who's practicing sincerely your regulated spiritual practice. From your perspective, you know whether you're receiving that practice or you're not receiving that practice. Correct? So if you're not receiving that practice, or if you're not clear about what you should be achieving at the end of that daily practice, When the practice is done, however, you're still left with whatever the benefits you have received or not received. Now, if some of you were paid for every 10 minutes of your practice, and if there was, you all develop some AI thing that can judge that every half an hour, what is the output of your spiritual practice? So on an average, a lot of you spend about 2 hours of practice every day. So let us suppose that we have this instrument that measures the volume of the output. And for every 10 minutes of a good volume of the output, if you are paid $100, so in an hour, how much do you earn? $600. In 2 hours, how much do you earn? Okay. So I have in my bank somehow or the other. If I don't have, I'll ask all of you for donations. $1,200 per day for, let's say, 15 days. So how much should I have in my bank? About $18,000. So let's say I've got $18,000 in my bank and I hire you. It's up to you. I hire you. I pay you for the next 15 days. If you are very sincerely chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, you get paid hourly $100,000. What would you do? Think about it. Because that's how you work. That's how you work in today's times. The company that pays you, it demands from you your time and energy. You're so meditative about it that if you are the only person that is working in the family, the other family members simply say that you're married to your job. True or false? True. So how did you become so meditative? Because being fruitive gives returns in this world. And if 2 hours of meditation, of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is not seen there as practically achievable, that means we do not find enough attraction. The returns are not so very attractive as of yet. And for those of us who've been practicing for 10 years plus, and still we find ourselves in that boat, I think we should find a different spiritual master now. Maybe Amazon could be our spiritual master. We should request Amazon, can you hire us for this purpose? Because Amazon will pay. Or Microsoft will pay, Deloitte would pay us, we know that. And then see the caliber of, the quality of sadhana that people do. Then you don't have to even listen to lectures every day. You don't have to regularly read the scriptures morning and evening also. No. You're convinced. You are convinced that I will be paid. Hence, according to Vedic scriptures, artha is a religious duty. We only speak of artha in terms of, oh, it is material. But it is one of the principles of religious life, artha. Srila Prabhupada is giving us the understanding through the perspective of a teacher. And he says that dharma, artha, kama, moksha, these purusharthas, they will not free us from the cycle of birth and death unless until we come to moksha. However, artha also points out, is also addressing the need of each one of us to have fulfillment for a fruitive intent. And unless and until we find a good fruitive intent for our sadhana, then it would be like Shat karma nipuno vipro mantra tantra visharata avaishnava guru nasyat. It'll be good in all our practices. Like, do we do services? Yes. Do we whatever follow the established system that helps us get recognition in the institution? Yes. We tick all the boxes. However, just because we've ticked all the boxes doesn't mean that we will have realization. Why? Because right now, despite ticking all the boxes, we know that the best way to be motivated and have realization is being fruitive. Being fruitive. Today, if we have subscribed to a particular process, let's say we find that, let's say that we hear from somewhere that Srila Prabhupada is coming to Irving, or some of you may be initiated and one of your spiritual masters is coming to, let's say, Plano tomorrow. Oh, just see how sincere you become. Just see how sincere you become. And day after tomorrow, if you hear that they had come yesterday, just see how miserable you become. Oh, I did not know. We would have taken out time. I would have cancelled everything. So you see how strong that need is within us to have a fruitive goal. So when is the day we start being honest to ourselves? When are we going to be teachers rather than students? A student simply to get the homework done would convince the parents, please help me out, and then present it to the teachers this to be submitted. And the teacher would ask, did you get it done yourself? If honest enough, would say, with a little help from my parents. And the teacher would say, next time you have to do it by yourself. And the student is like, yes, but that's it. Beyond that, the student is not going to take any efforts. It is not that the student comes back home and says, hey parents, mom, dad, I have to find a way to develop my skills. No. The student is like, okay, done. This project has been submitted. Now I have to start working on the next project. But the teacher doesn't do that. If the teacher sees that there wasn't enough resources put in the project delivered today, then the teacher would want to develop the skills right from today onwards for the next project. So what is Krishna consciousness about? When Srila Prabhupada was once asked, what is Krishna consciousness? Prabhupada said, being conscious of Krishna. So people thought, oh yeah, that is Krishna consciousness is so simple. You just have to be conscious of Krishna. So Mr. Rohinipriya Das is asked by somebody at the temple, what is Krishna consciousness? And he, like, Prabhu, Mataji, with all humility, I am not saying that the person with all humility, like myself, I'm a humble person. So with all humility, I say, Prabhuji, Mataji, we just have to be conscious of Krishna. We have to see Krishna everywhere, and we'll quote a few verses from the Gita also, from the Bhagavatam, from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Because that's all we studied in Bhakti Shastri, right? So those are the only places from which we are going to quote. Right? And then suddenly, after half an hour, Rohinipriya Das has to leave that place. And he realizes, I misplaced my laptop somewhere. Now see how conscious he becomes about his laptop. Where is it? Is it here? Is it there? Is it there? Where is it? Where is my laptop? Did you see my laptop? Like, can I find it through where is my laptop app or something like that? When was the last time Rohinipriya Das was so anxious about how my chanting was today morning? Where did my time go in my chanting today? How did it happen? At the most, Rohinipriya Das would be not happy with my chanting today. At the most, Rohinipriya Das would want to go to someone and ask, Prabhuji, Mataji, what do I do to develop my chanting? They give some techniques and Rohinipriya Das is like, yeah, tomorrow onwards, I will do it. Right? But Rohinipriya Das is never wanting to find where the time went in missing out Krishna. But Rohinipriya Das will give a nice lecture on, the Goswamis, if they did not find Krishna, they were like, Hey Radhe Brajate Vike Jagadite. Oh Krishna, where are you? Govardhana Kalpata. Govardhana Padatale Kalpata. Are you there underneath the forest, the trees at the footsteps of Govardhan Hill? So I'll give a lecture on that. But when Rohinipriya Das visits Govardhan, he'll post a picture of himself with a Kalpavriksha tree, with Govardhan in the background on WhatsApp. At the most, Rohinipriya Das will remember some nice prayers to offer to Girirajji. And after some time, Rohinipriya Das will be either concerned about, am I going to break my record of my last parikrama time? Am I going to tick all the boxes by pointing my head at all the holy places that Rohinipriya Das knows? Or would Rohinipriya Das find time to be looking for Krishna? Hey Krishna, are you at Radhakund? Are you at Shyamakund? Where are you? He cannot do that. Why? Because he has a train to catch. Or she may miss out on prasadam at NBT. Therefore, the more we have facilities, the more it takes away our time from meditation. So the more we get, okay, this is a yoga cushion on which I can sit and not fall asleep. or I have a yoga patta, the yoga band, so that my back is erect. They are helpful for a few days. However, we haven't found enough intent in our fruitive need for spiritual practices. So unless until we have artha, our dharma will be a little handicapped. And if there is handicap in the practice of dharma, there won't be any calm or enjoyment. Therefore, we'll find enjoyment in something else. Oh, we were watching this drama of Haridas Thakur. My God, it was so moving. That is where we'll find enjoyment. I went to this really meditative kirtan. That is where we'll find enjoyment. Is it wrong? No, it is not. However, our artha or a fruitive intent has to be found through our sadhana. And since we have accepted sadhana as chanting, therefore we have to find out practices, the dharma, that will support this artha. If our artha was finding Krishna through devotional dramas that we see, then yes, then every single day we have to sit down and look at dramas. Our problem is that when we watch a drama, we may want to watch it a couple of times, maybe a dozen times. After that, we don't want to watch. So where are we going to get so many dramas from? Who's going to provide us the skits? Who's going to put up performances that will move us? So dramas cannot be our sadhana. Dramas can be assisting us in a sadhana, but cannot be our sadhana. Can kirtan be our sadhana? Well, we can sit through 24 hours of kirtan. I mean, maybe not, but let us say we can sit through 24 hours of kirtan. That could help us through 1 month of chanting. After that, who's going to perform for us again? Where can we get performers for ourselves? Now you see why the scriptures say, Iti Shodashakam Namanam, Kalo Kalmasham. This is the simplest of all practices. We are the performers only. We just have to depend on ourselves to perform every single day. Therefore, every other practice in Kali Yuga is a little difficult. Because where are we going to get the performers for that? Or where can we find the capabilities ourselves to do that performance? Hence, in Kali Yuga, we have to chant the holy names of the Lord. But unless and until we find a strong fruitive intent for it, as sadhakas will not find the goal of being meditative. Our minds will be still very agitated. Very agitated. And then we are going to need more practices. What more practices? Maybe I should do 25 rounds of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra every day. Well, if 16 was not working, 25 is going to work based on what? Maybe I should complete all my rounds in the morning. So for that, whatever happens, I wake up. My day is all packed because I work for some client. So I have to wake up early in the morning. And after 4 months of such people in Krishna consciousness, even outside world, they ask you, why do you look so tired every day in your life? Even the outside world asks you that question. You know the answer. The reason is I'm not getting enough sleep. But no, I have to finish all of my rounds in the morning. Very good. These are all practices that are beneficial. However, these practices as sadhana are meant for us to be meditative. We are being fruitive, but we are being fruitive for goals that are not helping us to be meditative. So we are being fruitive like, let us finish everything in the morning. Or some of us are like, maybe I should take a day off every month. And from morning to evening, just chant. The people who have spent 5 to 6 years every year for 1 month going to Vrindavan in the month of Kartika and just chanting. Very good. A lot of them have been successful in doing what? They've been successful in staying in Vrindavan for a month and doing their practice. What happens for the rest of the 11 months of the year? We never heard anyone speak of that. So we do not know. In our individual cases, we can try and analyze. So, as we are being fruitive in so many ways, is there a way we can find some fruitive intent in the little amount of time that we give to sadhana every day? And what could be the fruitive intent? Well, let me be sincere is not working. So can we make it a little more relevant? What if I say, would it help you if you being honest enough every day, those of you who are doing sadhana, if you feel that you've not done well, would you want to transfer $1,000 into my account? Would that be a very strong impetus not to lose all that money to somebody who's just taking away hard-earned money? Think about it. Would that be a good enough impetus? Don't say that, okay, I'll transfer it into my wife's account, into my child's account. It doesn't work. You have to do that into a place you know that you're not going to get it back. And if you feel that you don't want it to give it into Rohinipriya Das's account, would you want to put that into the temple hundi? Unknown donation. You do that for a month. And then let us see if any of you ever ask a question to anyone after class, how to improve in my chanting. Then the practices then dharma becomes so very easy to follow. You'll find, after that, you'll start finding pleasure in chanting too. The kama would also be there. And then moksha comes in. And when you have fulfilled the purusharthas, then the pancham purushartha would be there, that is prema. But if you're going directly for prema, without growing your wings, you want to fly towards prema. And every time you fly out, for some time it seems you're flying and then you fall to the ground because your wings are not developed enough. Now you may say, no, every day I do that, so after a year I'll start flying. Well, after at least 5 to 10 years, you should realize that the wings are not developing. So some other strategy has to be applied. We cannot fool ourselves. So there's no use trying to be introspective in terms of, I'm so fallen, because that only creates a distance between us and Krishna. And when that distance is there, you wanting to feel that your calling out to Krishna is reaching Krishna, you'll go like, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So why are you shouting? Because something is happening right there where you feel that unless until you shout, Krishna will not be able to hear. Isn't it? Doesn't mean that you don't have to chant loudly. What I'm saying is, why are you doing it at that point of time? We have to be honest enough to figure that out. If it is like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who like just feels so very, it's as if, Krishna is right there and we are about to catch up to him and we are calling out to him, hey Krishna, wait, I'm almost there. And that is a different case where you're going towards Krishna. However, if it is just because your mind is disturbed and you want to overpower the mind, that means there's a distance between us and Krishna. So what has created that distance? Lack of affection. Just as relatives are related to each other through affectionate dealings, when they become angry, distance appears. Similarly, we are eternally connected to Krishna. However, when the mind is turbulent, the affection is overshadowed and the distance grows. Yeah. However, when you're in love, you're constantly like Krishna, 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 Krishna. There's a story about Arjuna even in sleep. Every body pore was chanting Hare Krishna. Every single pore of his body was chanting Krishna's names. Because there's absolutely no distance between Arjuna and Krishna, even in sleep. Therefore, even a whisper is enough. Or in such stages, a person becomes stunned. The tongue does not speak. The eyes cannot see because it is full of tears. The throat is choked up. However, your mind is just loudly calling out for Krishna. So physically one is stunned. The mind is completely attracted towards Krishna. So let us understand very clearly that it is a great boon in Kali Yuga to be able to chant the holy names of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Great benediction. And there is this deep logic behind it. None of the other processes are as easy. None of them. You want to do deity worship, and practically no one is taking care of cows. Where are you going to get wicks? Where are you going to get the aguru from, the dhupa from? As I said, who's going to do the performance for us? Previously, if the food would be looked at even by a crow, they would like, it cannot be offered to the Lord. Today we hardly care where the ingredients are coming from. Oh, they're coming from Vrindavan? Fine. But previously, even if it was coming from the most trusted place, they still had to confirm that it is pure. Those are previous ages. Scriptures explain that. So how can we practice? Where can we get people who are going to provide us such pure ingredients? And are we working hard enough to collect it ourselves? So neither are we willing to perform, nor do we have other people who would be, why would they want to give us such performance? So therefore, chanting of the holy names of Krishna is our only shelter. All we have to use is our tongue, our ears, our mind. How simple could it get? And secondly, we have to accept the fact that we are fruitive. Without a doubt, we are fruitive. Otherwise, we wouldn't be attending so many lectures, so many seminars, because all of us are fruitive. We want to improve in our chanting. That is how fruitive we are. So there's nothing wrong in accepting it. We are dovetailing it in this towards Krishna. So that rather than say that, no, we are practicing different devotional service, therefore we are not fruitive, because devotional service cannot be fruitive. Read Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Shastri. If you had properly paid attention and not only done for grades, you'd remember that. So how to be good, perfect, fruitive people in our sadhana? At least we should try to achieve that. And I said, find out your own way how to be fruitive. Make it very relevant. Just for 1 month, practice this. Most of you, I think you must be anywhere between 150K to 250K annually. Maybe 100K to 250K annually. 2 salaries in the house, 200K. Therefore, I said 100K to 250K, right? 1000K per day for a month is how much? 30K? Do it. See, for the next 3 months, you don't need to listen to any lectures, read any books. That 30K, whenever you remember that, you'll feel as if you're sitting on hot charcoal when you're chanting. It burns your bank account, it burns you. I'm just trying to, it's a joke. What I'm trying to say is make it relevant. Otherwise, if I don't chant properly, then the next time, just to overcome any offenses I've done to my chanting, will it be all right if I do 10 parikramas of Govardhan? Those are simple achievements. Try to lose 30K in a month. And if you want to really make it relevant, do it 2K a day. In a month, 60K. I mean, you would not even have so many savings. Then Krishna consciousness, you actually would be hanging on it for dear life. Yes? So we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Any comments? Yes.
I was thinking that definitely it is very a very different perspective to look at this.
No. This is the simplest perspective which we have overlooked for a long time. Because we found other perspectives to be like grass that is greener on the other side.
Yeah.
Please understand, this perspective is always with us. We never ever give it a chance. Did we ever give it a chance? Every time whenever it comes to holding programs at the house, we are happy. When it comes to giving donations, that green colored paper or the e-wallet, something here does the calculation, isn't it? So we have to accept the fact. Artha. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, continue.
I was saying, many times the whatever things you told, exactly the same thing happens, right? So we get, we try to do everything in the morning so that, the rest of the days we can very easily disconnect from Krishna. Again, we come back, right? And then that happens consciously or unconsciously, that happens. Many times consciously also it happens. We plan the day in a way that in the morning we make all our sadhanas correct, and then we disconnect for a long time from Krishna. And that is consciously, not unconsciously. We don't go prepared to see that, okay, now I will work, but I will also think about Krishna. We never go planning like that. We will say that, okay, now I will give my 100% to my job. Right? So, and then we come back, and then again we think, now maybe these 2 hours is, where I will again spend my time for Krishna. Then again I go back to work or something else. Right? But I always think, this is my perspective, when I'm asking this question, I always think that we are, I think that my starting point is that we are very busy in my life. So how can I give time to Krishna? Rather than, the other perspective, I think that, okay, I'm very busy, but whatever time I get out of that, and I give it to Krishna. So is there anything, I know that there is definitely a fruit connected to that as well. But is that a wrong way of approaching to be conscious of Krishna?
So there are two perspectives. One is that I know that I have to be conscious of Krishna. However, in the real world, work takes up a lot of time. Therefore, I try to be conscious of Krishna to the best of my ability for whatever time I have, and the rest of the time, I find that I'm not so conscious of Krishna because so many other activities take up my attention, correct? And the feeling is that maybe this is not the right approach because we have to be conscious of Krishna always, isn't it? So if we want to be conscious of Krishna always, then although we want it to happen, because of circumstances in the real world or the world that we work in, that doesn't translate, doesn't really manifest. So the question is, what should be done? Find a new narrative. When Arjuna was talking to Krishna, he knew all the narratives. It was not helpful. So Krishna then gave him a new narrative. He did not explain to him something new. He just gave him a new narrative. When he started giving that narrative, Arjuna started asking questions. It basically means Krishna, when he gave his narrative, Arjuna did not feel that, oh, this is what you had already spoken there. So what happens typically with people who start understanding any field of knowledge, at one point of time where they feel there is some stagnation and they go for seminars or workshops to improve their skill sets, there will always be some percentage of that workshop or schools or that skill set development program where they want to give their input like, oh, just like I did that. In Arjuna's case, that did not happen because Krishna gave him a narrative that seemed to be so new. I imagine Arjun is supposed to be like really well skilled, really very good at his work and also from his spiritual understanding. And Krishna felt and understood that Arjuna needed a new narrative and gave it to him. And therefore he said that now, Arjuna, I'm giving you that. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshya. So kale neha mata yogo nashta parantapa. So does that mean that there was no one teaching the knowledge of the supreme science, transcendental science at the time of Arjuna? If we read the history of those times, that is not true. Correct? Why? Because Arjuna says, Asita Devala Vyasa Naradas Swayam Chaiva Bharivishime. You are the supreme person. So all these sages are still there. So all of them had a memory fade. So one way of understanding this is that Krishna is giving a new narrative to the same understanding. According to what Arjuna needed. So can you try and find a new narrative? So what is a narrative? A narrative is that which you're convinced by to work and dedicate yourself to. All right? And let me ask you about a particular scenario from not just your life, but everyone may find it to be relevant in their lives. I've seen him working. I've seen most of you working. You all work for certain clients, right? Different positions. There are certain days where you have to work late at night and early in the morning too. You do late at night, you have a few hours of sleep and start working from early in the morning. Is that correct? Maybe sometimes it is every month, you have certain days like that. Correct? After having those days, when you come back to the schedule where you can have like you get finished from work like late in the evening and the next day you join work by let's say mid-morning. When you come back to that schedule, do you relax? Or do you still have to put in your efforts? Do you relax? Do you feel disconnected from, oh, because I did that? Do you feel disconnected from the work I'm saying? You're like, yeah, because I worked late night and early morning. Now I feel disconnected from the 8 to 7 job that I have, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Do you feel disconnected? Or do you still know that I still have my targets to achieve? That was just deployment. I still have my targets to achieve. Here you are very clear. You have clarity about your targets, not just for this month, but for every single month, every single year till the time you work for this client. So if the client is Krishna, and every single day you have to work towards being conscious of Krishna. Would it be fair enough to say that I feel disconnected in this case, and I can easily find myself being connected when I work for T-Mobile or Amazon? How do you find that connection? Because it pays you. It pays you for all this luxury that you have. Correct? Now, many people, they want to simplify their life. But over the years, they have things adding to their life. Because that is what old age means. Growing old means that you need more things. In today's world, we do not have the younger generation going to support those who are going old. Previously, they used to have a community like that. Do you think a Hare Krishna old age home would provide you that facility? It will provide you the facility till you have enough money in a bank account. Because there's need and supply. There's so much demand, no? So we have to find that which can make us work. What is that goal that is as relevant as 250K, 300K? Only a few people achieve it. We may come up with so many seminars that in 11 seconds, won the Olympic gold medal in the about 100-meter sprint. So many motivational speeches about it. Everyone, even we will use a seminar like that. And what did it take for that person to be there? Then they'll divide it, they'll give you this huge number. 12 years multiplied by 365 days into 24 hours into 60 minutes into 60 seconds. And this huge number will be given to you. This is what it took. Such a big number of seconds of sweat it has taken for achieving this. Why doesn't every single person on the street achieve that then? Why doesn't one person from every community here achieve that then? It's the intent. But we are not saying that. Why don't we find an achiever in every single community of that caliber? Because it takes hard work. Sheer hard work. Putting in so much time to maintain your health, your physique, what you eat, how much time you can spend on social media or on entertainment, all of that is so regulated because a person is focused. I need to have my gold medal. And there are hundreds of others that also try it out. Ultimately, it's going to be one. The others, not. Who remembers who came second? So what is a narrative? There's only one narrative that works. Uttishta yasha labhasva. Stand up and achieve success. Work hard for it. However, what form that narrative takes depends on each one of us. It's not that Arjuna did not know how to work hard. However, all the narratives still then weren't helping him. In fact, he was finding loopholes in those narratives, just as we also find loopholes within our own understanding of, but then you know what to do. Sometimes when you fall sick, we are not able to wake up early. So those loopholes is what troubles us, just as loopholes are troubling Arjuna. What if everyone dies and only ladies are there? What if, a society gets exploited and we have Varna Sankar? Things like that. And after all, these are my relatives. Even if they, do bad to me, I should always be doing good to them. So he knew those loopholes were there in those. How did he know those loopholes are there? The narratives did not have loopholes because many people previous to Arjuna were successful using those narratives. It was Arjuna's own lack of sincerity towards her hard work. And just when Krishna convinced him that there's no shortcut to hard work, Arjuna, then the narrative worked for Arjuna. So we have to find a narrative for ourselves to work hard. And identify exactly what is it that is your fruitive need. Try not to gaslight something else. Strong word. Let me do this, let me do that, let me do this. That is what we say the Karma Kand section of the Vedas does. The difference between Karma Kand section of the Vedas and the Upasana Kand section of the Vedas is this. The Karma Kand section of the Vedas is like a supermarket. The Upasana Kand is very focused. And Gyan Kand is a bridge. It helps you see that Karma Kand is for you till the time you have not found a focused intent of a fruitive meditation. That is why they are there. It is not one is less, one is more. One is better, one is least. Each one of us, each kanda of the Vedas, each section of the Vedas wants us to work really, really, really hard. Shrama eva hi kevalam. Now I'm using this in another context. Parishram. Otherwise, why would Krishna say, Yat karoshi, yad ashnashi, yad juhoshi, dadasi, yat tapasyatu, tat karosho, madarpanam? It's like, work hard, work hard, work hard, work hard, work hard, and give it all to me. Why would he say that? But then we don't like that verse. Therefore, we like the verse, no, wherever Krishna is telling us, don't worry, just give me devotion and I will eat your devotion. So we take that easy route. So I'm just going to offer devotion to Krishna. But then we are doing everything else. We are doing tapasya for our house mortgage, for our car mortgage. Krishna says, give it to me. Work hard, give it to me. So we should change the subscription from Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam verse to Yat Karoshi Yadashnasi verse. Subscribe to that verse. For now, at least. Hoping that we can be eligible enough to subscribe to Patram Pushpam verse. Platinum membership. At least we can start from regular membership. All right. So narrative. This is the buzzword today, narrative, right? According to the scriptures, it basically means siddhant. What is your siddhant? All right. Any other question? So we'll stop. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.